Now, England players began flying home yesterday. That's after the IPL, the Indian Premier League, was suspended following an increase in coronavirus cases. Now, on Tuesday, the IPL said it had unanimously decided to postpone the season after an emergency meeting. Let's get more on this. talkSPORT Sam Ellard is here. Hello, mate.
Morning, both. How you doing?
Morning, Sam.
Good morning. It's still all over the back pages, loads of articles inside the papers as well this morning. I'll just run you through some of the key stories. This is by Richard Gibson in the Daily Mail. The postponed IPL could resume in the UAE later this year. There's also been whispers of the competition being completed in the UK immediately after India's tour here this summer. Mike Atherton writes in the Times, rescheduling will force the ECB to show their true colours. IPL want to avoid £200 million losses, but the players need rest and they have to be protected. Nasser Hussain says in the Mail this morning that the mistake was staging it in India in the first place. It should have been held in the UAE like it was last year. This is by John Etheridge in The Sun. He writes England players have started arriving in the UK after escaping the chaos and anxiety of the suspended IPL. Bairstow, Butler and Billings were the first to find seats on flights after initially fearing they could be stranded in India until the weekend. And also this is by Anand Vasu. He writes in The Guardian that the IPL failed by ignoring stark warnings of the COVID crisis. The IPL should have halted the competition earlier or made alternative plans, but its timing was amiss. Ali, before we discuss this, let's hear from England legend Darren Gough, who says despite it being postponed, it will at some stage this year be played.
Money talk, we've seen it in football. We've only seen it over the last week in football. The IPL, it's the biggest deal media-wise in the world, isn't it? It's ridiculous the amount of millions and millions and millions of pounds that it's worth. Now, they're going to want to finish it. It's started, it's halfway through, and they're going to want to finish it. Now, they're talking about possible dates before the T20 World Cup in India. Can you imagine these boards are wanting their players to go out and play in a tournament that we're talking another 7, 8, 9 games in a 2.5 week period before a World Cup?
Michael Atherton in the Times this morning, he says if the IPL cannot be rescheduled, the financial consequences will be significant, with half the competition incomplete. How about this, Ali? It's thought that it generates about a third of the game's global revenue and much of the BCCI's revenue. Reports suggest in the event of cancellation, losses from broadcast and sponsorship income could touch £200 million. Now, That's a lot of money. And as Goffey says, money talks. Now, for me, Ali, this will be rescheduled. At some point this year, it's going to be rescheduled.
What are the options
now?
Though?
Looking,
going to the UAE.
Yes.
So now
Dubai, Abu Dhabi, isn't it?
Like it was last year, and it worked fine. They were all in bubbles. There wasn't as much travelling. There was less grounds. There was no bubbles being breached. It all worked fine. That should have happened this year. Now, looking at the schedule, by the way, the next 12 months of cricketing scheduling is the most
ridiculous
packed it will ever be. But there's one gap this year where they could try and fit it in. England play India in the 5th Test match starting on the 10th of September. That will finish on the 14th of September. Now, the T20 World Cup is set to start in mid-October. So there is a month gap from mid-September to mid-October, Ali, where I think they're going to try and cram it in about a 2-3 week period over in the UAE. That's what I think they're going to do. And they'll set it like, well, there's a T20 World Cup coming up. It will be good preparation, etc., etc. But what's going to be interesting now is surely, Ali, England, the ECB, have to just say no. Now, look, England are normally very good.
Yes.
The players are contracted, centrally contracted with the ECB. They get paid good money. But England, every year, they say, do you know what? Go and play the IPL. Go for 2 months to India, earn big money. We won't stop you. And I'm fine with that. Even if, like this year, they were going to miss the Test series against New Zealand. I get the IPL is a massive deal. The players want to earn the money. It develops their game. But Ali, this year, 6 months of cricket in England. We then, by the way, Ali, before the World Cup, England are set to go to Pakistan and Bangladesh in preparation for that World Cup. Then after the World Cup, there's an Ashes series, kind of a big deal. And then after the Ashes series, there's a trip to the West Indies. And then guess what's after that, Ali? It'll be at the IPL again.
No.
Surely just now we have to say, no, I'm sorry, lads. You might have to miss out on a bit of money, but we are not allowing you to go to the IPL, have a week or so off, and then we have to go to Bangladesh and Pakistan. That's important preparation ahead
Sam,
of England becoming potentially double world champions.
Sam, I love and admire your love for the game.
I do love cricket, Ali.
However, Sam,
You're going to say money talks, right? You're going to say the IPL is bigger than a trip to Pakistan.
No, it's maybe. It's not bigger than the Ashes, right? It's absolutely not bigger than the Ashes. It's not bigger than the World Cup. But cricket, like most sports, money talks. And that's why I think Goffey will be correct. And I think you secretly think it will happen. Yeah, I mean, I read somewhere yesterday, Sam, am I correct in saying that they could have a possibility of have you correctly saying moving the tournament to where it's Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and play 2 games a day?
Yeah. So I think if it does happen, it will be in that little gap I mentioned, and it will be in the UAE, and they'll have to cram it in. Like there'll be 2 games a day. Teams will be playing every other day. It will be short and quick, Ali, because that's the only option.
The only thing I would say to you, in balance, Sam, completely agree with you wholeheartedly. It's not ideal in many respects. None more so for the players in preparation for a World Cup tournament. However, would I not be right in saying that most countries would be in the same boat?
Yeah, correct. Yes and no. No, because England's schedule is busier than pretty much everyone's apart from India. So
yeah, but
no.
Sorry, my question was more directed at most countries being in the same boat, as in losing players to the IPL potentially for that period before the World Cup.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I mean, England have 11, which is more than the most countries, but of course there'll be Australians going.
I thought Australia 20. I thought Australia 20, did they not?
Yeah. So I think Australia and obviously India have more than England, but England will have more than, let's say, all the other countries playing in the World Cup. So yeah, you're right. In that respect, Ali, England wouldn't be the only country that would lose players 2 weeks before the start of a global tournament. That's correct.
talkSPORT Breakfast with Laura Woods. Monday to Wednesday mornings 6 till 10. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.